I call to order this meeting of the Warren County School Board for Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is to accept or modify the agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I would move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Community participation. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Public hearing. Mr. Drescher, would you like to?
Annually, the school board holds a public hearing on the budget. And the purpose of this public hearing is to garner input from the community. And this is an opportunity for the community to give the school board suggestions for consideration for the budget for the upcoming year. And at this time, I guess anyone that is interested in presenting budget thoughts to the board, we would allow them to come up now. I know there'll be at least one. We hope.
Rob, this pen doesn't write, but you know who I am. I am Kim Oakland. I teach at Ressie Jeffries Elementary School, and I am the president of the Warren County Education Association. And in honor of School Board, I think it's School Board Appreciation Month, is that correct? I want you to know that we very much appreciate you, and I'll say something about that in a second. I stand before you once again expressing my thanks to Mr. Drescher for his continued support of Warren County Public School teachers, his willingness to work with the Warren County Education Association, and his efforts to keep teachers informed about administrative decisions and the reasons behind them. The recent snowstorm is a case in point. I heard from a number of teachers about how much they appreciated Mr. Drescher's emails explaining the reasons for cancellations and the information on the bus stops impeded by the large piles of snow. I'm always a little reluctant to stand before you because in some ways I feel I'm preaching to the choir. This board continues to show support for our county's teachers, and when I go to meetings and hear from teachers in other districts, I'm very grateful to have such a supportive board. And I can tell you that some of my colleagues from other districts are envious of the positive relationship this school board shares with its teachers, so we truly do appreciate you. As you begin to establish your budget priorities for the next several years, I would like to share the following information for you to include in your thought process. And if you would like later on, I'll be glad to email you a copy of my written remarks. Research has proven time and again that communities who invest in their public school system have a more qualified and skilled labor force, higher employment rates, higher tax revenues, improved physical and mental health, lower crime rates, lower rates of dependence on public assistance, and an overall better quality of life. Research has also shown that effective teachers have 2 to 3 times the impact on student achievement of any other school-related factors. That is more than services, facilities, or even leadership. More is now being required of all school personnel in hours, responsibility, and justification. While I have not done specific research on teacher health in Warren County, I can make an educated guess that the increased demands on teachers and staff correlate to a higher stress level, and a corresponding increase in medical issues, which in turn increases our insurance usage. I should put an aside there that not all of this is coming from Warren County administration. Much of it is coming from the state and the federal government. I also would like to thank Mr. Smith and Mr. Ballantyne for their work on finding effective health insurance for WCPS staff. Their efforts are certainly appreciated. That being said, you and I are aware that health insurance rates nationwide continue to either increase in premiums or decrease in service. This, combined with static salary and step rates, means that take-home pay has decreased for many people. WCPS staff members are no exception to this rule. Also, many of our teachers commute because affordable housing is limited in Warren County, but is plentiful in some of the surrounding counties. The lack of affordable housing is noteworthy because teachers who otherwise might commute to Warren County are less likely to do so if they can make more money in their county of residence. You are aware that for a number of years, our salaries and steps have remained stagnant. You are also aware that our salary scale and benefits are outdistanced by surrounding school districts. In November, I shared the results of a study using information from the Virginia Joint Legislative and Audit and Review Committee, which ranked 132 school divisions throughout the Commonwealth by median teacher salary. When considering the actual salaries, WCPS ranked at 61, and I know you've heard this before. When those figures are adjusted for cost of living and inflation, WCPS Warren County Public Schools ranks 132, last place. In a county that is growing rather than declining, this kind of ranking is simply unacceptable. We did not get to 132nd place in 1 year, and we will not get out of 132nd place in 1 year. However, if we believe that a sustainable community is reliant on the previously mentioned benefits of an effective education system, a more highly skilled labor force, higher employment rates, higher tax revenues, improved physical and mental health, lower crime rates, etc., 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 and we recognize that teacher effectiveness and teacher-student relationships are the most significant factors in student success, then we must consider investing in teacher retention to be a priority. We must support a long-term plan that will show our teachers that we value them by providing competitive compensation. We must show our students that they are so important to the future of our community that we are investing the necessary tax dollars to provide them the best education possible. Thank you for your attention and support. And if I can provide you with any information or be of assistance as you struggle with, unfortunately, the realities of the budget process, please do not hesitate to contact me.
Thank you, Kim. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? No? Public hearing is now closed. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that the consent agenda be accepted as distributed.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Reports, staff reports. Instruction, Mr. Hirsch.
Madam Chairman, Mr. Superintendent, it's always a pleasure. It's especially a pleasure to come and talk about instruction, as instruction is what we do. I'm here to talk about some non-traditional programs. As you all are very well aware, I'm very involved with special education, special services, and the non-traditional programs. We offer a wide array of non-traditional programs, from evening programs to online programming to clinical programs as well as behaviorally based programs. I'm here today to talk about one program in particular, the Brighter Futures Learning Community. Some of you have had the opportunity, and I think the pleasure, of taking being involved in the program and looking at the program, and you'll see how it's grown and matured over the last 5 years, and it's grown significantly. Brighter Futures is a collaborative effort between the county, the Comprehensive Services Office, the school division, of course, the sheriff's office, as well as Northwestern Community Services Board, and some private providers to provide a clinically based approach to serving students with behavioral challenges and disabilities. So we do a variety of things there. And what I wanted to do is highlight for you, for the non-traditional program administrator, Mr. Jerry Cave, some of the things that he's doing and the staff are doing to really make this program effective. So as I said, we partner with multiple community agencies. Some of the things that happen besides instruction every day are we partner with the Laurel Center out of Winchester. We've had some, just like in all of the schools across the nation, we've had issues with cyber kinds of things, texting and inappropriate behavior and learning how to deal with some of those some of that technology. So we have the Laurel Center coming in, and we split our groups up into gender groups, boys and girls. And the boys groups meet for 10 weeks throughout with the Laurel Center, and they focus on caring relationships, dating abuse, how to help your friends, overcoming gender stereotypes, and how we feel and deal with equal power through communication. And we want to prevent those kinds of inappropriate relationships. So we meet with the boys, and we do the same thing with the girls. And the girls meet with the counselors as well. And this is intertwined throughout their day with all the other clinical supports that we're providing them. And basically what we're doing, not basically, what we're doing is teaching them tools so they can re-enter their traditional high schools. We also provide music therapy for the middle school class, and this is through what's called Rockin' Music Therapy Services. And they use music and instruments to work on social skills, self-expression, emotion regulation, and self-esteem. Interventions used include group drumming, improvising, musical games, music and imagery, and music relaxation. And lastly, the middle school class meets for a total of 6 days for a 1-hour session with the Warren Coalition, where they talk about healthy choices, bullying, and different kinds of ways to have healthy social relationships. I'm pleased to say all of these programs are at no expense to the school division. And Mr. Cave wrote down some things that I'd like to share with you quickly, and I can entertain some questions about what's happening at Brighter Futures. The middle school students improved from fall to winter on their Ames web testing in reading and math. There was only one unsuccessful grade given in the first 9 weeks, and 0 unsuccessful grades, meaning an F, was given in the second 9 weeks. There's a total of 26 students at Brighter Futures. The staff pass out green stars to students when they're caught doing a good job, academically and behaviorally. A name is drawn from the stars at the week's end, and they're given gift certificates. All this is part of the positive behavioral supports program that we've talked about over the last few months. Staff mail home 2 certificates each month addressed to the students. They're positive certificates to the students for doing well academically. Particularly with students that have had, for whatever reason, negative experiences in the public school, our focus is to create positive experiences again and again and again to build self-esteem, and it's working. All field trips in the program, they're earned. Several students volunteer their time along with our paraprofessional in the community after school hours. They volunteer in churches, and they help with the backpack program, handing out the lunches to all the students that are in need. Students and staff are making a video regarding the right and wrong way and regarding the following: how to act in buses, how to act in hallways. And our goal there is to make a video so they can show it to themselves, so they can learn how to do appropriate behavior and share that behavior with their peers. Students' work is posted in the hallways outside of each classroom, recognizing the student work. We've had significant growth in this program. I'm very, very proud to share that with you. As a matter of fact, today in a meeting, in talking with the resource officer, the sergeant who's in charge of the resource officers, she made the comment that the Brighter Futures Learning Community is night and day from when it started. And the behavior of the staff, the students, and the things that are going on there are unbelievable. So I wanted to share that with you. She shared it with us today. Invite you to please come again, please visit, and it's our most fragile population that are the most important to serve. So, thank you. If you have any questions.
How long is a student typically there before they're reintroduced into the?
Great question. Thank you. It depends. For instance, this year alone, we have 11 students out of the 26 that are planning to transition back to their home schools. So some students stay a year, some students say 4 years, some students say 3 years. Some graduate from there. But our goal is to get them back, and 11 out of our 26 will be returning this year.
Do you have a way of keeping track of them once they've graduated?
We do. We actually do what's called, a lot of our students do have disabilities, and we do what's called Indicator 14 for bureaucratic lingo. And what we do is we interview them a year after they graduate to look at what their outcomes are and what they're doing, and we do track that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't have that data right in front of me.
No, I didn't expect you to. I was just curious. Thank you.
So yeah, and it's very interesting. Kids come back all the time and say hi.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hirsch.
Okie dokie.
Very nice.
Superintendent report.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to, first of all, start off thanking all of the folks that were involved in keeping our students and staff safe during this historic snow event that we had. Mike Riley and his crew, Aaron Mitchell and his crew, our custodial company, VDOT, Doug Stanley and the Warren County workers, Steve Burke and town workers, and I am sure assorted private contractors were involved. And I know all of us were pulled in many directions getting things back to normal. All were focused on what it took to get the snow cleared away, and that was many parts of the state. But I would just like to say it was a pleasure to work with all those people doing something that we don't want to do very often, quite honestly. So thank you. Just an update on the time that we missed. We did miss 6 school days during the storm. We have 5 weather makeup days that are built into our calendar. 3 of them are in the spring break. So officially, spring break will be March 24, March 25, and March 28. That leaves 1 day that's not been made up yet. Now, my recommendation to the board is going to be that let's see what February and maybe part of March brings. If we have no more weather days than that, we can absorb that 1 day into our calendar due to our school day being longer than what's required. If we do miss many more days, we would look at adjusting our calendar. So I'd like to wait about 4 weeks, 6 weeks before we make that decision, unless there is a good reason to make the decision before then. So,
Refresh my memory. Is there something, when the governor calls a state of emergency, is there something that some of those days don't count, or?
not in this particular case.
No,
A state of emergency that would be at this level would not matter. It is up to the school to do whatever it can, or the school system to do whatever it can to make up the days. Now, in very severe cases, and I mean like missing 20 days, 25 days, things like that, there could possibly be some adjustment. But the way the code is written is that the school is required to do whatever it can to make up.
Okay.
Yep. So just thought I'd give a little update on the calendar there for that. You'll notice School Board Appreciation Month. It is with great gratitude that I do voice my appreciation for your service as Warren County School Board members. The children and greater citizenry are better served in our schools due to your leadership. I've had the opportunity to watch you as a board and work with many of you for many years. To a person, you exemplify all the attributes that make an effective board member. Children first, focus on what works, not just what we've always done, and a vision towards the future. I thank you, and I know the rest of our staff, parents, and community thanks you for your service to your children, to our children. You'll notice some things in front of you, I'm sure you did when you sat down. Each of our schools has written some nice notes, and a few of them have offered some tokens of their appreciation just as a way of saying thanks, and they do thank you all the time. And I do have an official certificate for each of you. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
These tickets to Las Vegas, are they supposed to go?
Only you got one of those, Doug. It is also next week. Is it next week? The week of February 15th through 19th is School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. And I know we all thank Rob for everything that he does as our clerk. I get to see the many hours that he spends getting ready for the board meetings and taking care of all of us, and I know each of you appreciate him as well. And I also have an official certificate for him.
All right.
There's the Las Vegas tickets.
It's as opposed to an unofficial.
Everyone run out and get a frame tonight.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, last week was Virginia School Principal Appreciation Week. You got a snowstorm. So, in all seriousness, having worked hand in hand with our principals for many years, I can confidently say we have some of the most dedicated and professional administrators in Virginia. I thank them for their focus on keeping our students safe and helping all of our children learn. And we have a number of them here this evening, and I wish our principals and assistant principals would stand, please. Thank you. Thank you. And that is all I have.
Oh, okay, thank you. School board reports. Start with Mr. Williams.
Madam Chair and fellow members, I would like to kind of echo Mr. Drescher's statements about the last snowstorm. I saw several schools in Mike Riley's group. My hat's off to them. Saw Mr. Stanley's guys up the school board hauling off snow one day. I can't remember when, but everybody worked together and did a wonderful job. I mean, it was a tremendous amount in a short time, and unfortunately we had to miss a week, and I know we'll work that out. The next thing is the Appreciation Week. Thank you very much to the school systems. The letters were great that I've read so far. Thanks for the gifts, but if you could use them to give to a student to give something, as a reward, I'd appreciate that even more. But the thought is very nice. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Rosen?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for the gifts. They'll be utilized probably by my grandchildren. Somehow I think they're going to end up with them. Great job on the snow. You all did a great job, no question, and the community at large. Quick update from a meeting that I attended on January 20th. It was a meeting that was held to try to find a solution to the continued public safety and public highways issues we're having in Warren County with Norfolk Southern Railroad. We continue to have blockages of Rockland Road, Fairground Road, and Ashby Station Road. They're the three railway crossings that seem to get the most traffic. Sheriff McKeithron spearheaded this along with Mr. Stanley, and his office has experienced 86 calls for service since January 1st, 2015, in reference to trains blocking the aforementioned highways for extremely longer than the designated time. And I forget exactly what that time is, but it's a good 30 minutes or so, something like that. The reason the school system was invited is that we're having some real issues with children having to stay on the buses because they can't get across the railroad crossings. So we wanted to, Sheriff McKeithron wanted to try to get all of the parties involved, see if we can have some communication and work out some mutually beneficial solutions. Because it does create a rather dangerous situation, particularly if parents get a little overzealous and want to get the kids off school bus and go around the end of the train track, and it's just not a good situation. I'm hopeful that in the future we're going to be having some additional meetings that will come up with some solutions, may even looking into the future, what they call above elevation, which would be a bridge over a track, or underground elevation, which you'd go under. So we had representatives of Norfolk and Southern. We had some residents. I included myself as a resident. There was also another one, but I was also there to back up Aaron Mitchell, who spoke on this, about the school systems and the issues we have. We had people from Inland Port. Mr. Stanley was there. The governor's office. We had a good representation. I think it was a good meeting, and hopefully we'll generate some solutions in the very, very, very near future that'll eliminate these safety concerns that the sheriff has, as well as problems we have with school children. So, Mr. Stanley, you attended that meeting. Was there anything you'd like to add?
I think just that, appreciate the opportunity to be here at that. We're looking at short-term and long-term solutions. Obviously, the short-term, we got to find a way. 1 week we had at least 3 blockages between 30 and 45 minutes for both the elementary bus, bus 43, and bus 14, the secondary bus. Unacceptable. Some of these kids are already on the bus for an hour and 15 minutes. So you're talking about a 2-hour ride home from school. When you're talking kindergartners having to go to the restroom, it's an untenable situation. Norfolk Southern, the Inland Port, I think everybody's willing to work with us. They're trying to go back and look at train schedules, timing, all those things to try to tweak the schedule. Years ago, I'm talking 10, 15 years ago, we met with them. We were able to try to get them to keep most of their Inland Port service visits between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., which kept it outside of the school bus routes. So we minimized the impact on the community from that standpoint. But longer trains, changing in the schedules has pushed that into 3, 4 o'clock time frame, which puts us right in the middle of our afternoon bus run. And ultimate answer is a grade separated crossing where you can probably fly over the tracks, probably the Rockland Road intersection. VDOT's committed to looking at some preliminary costs that we can work maybe with the railroad and VDOT to come up with an answer, but that's 5, 10 years down the road. We need to figure out what to do today, and we're waiting right now for a response back from Norfolk Southern on what they can do in the short term to address the problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. McKeithley?
I'd also like to thank everyone for the gifts. They're very much appreciated. I'm pretty excited. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to go visit LFK and go into one of the classrooms and have lunch with the kids. It's been a few years since I've done that, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll have a little bit more to say on that next month. Thank you.
Mr. Wells?
Just to echo with the snow removal and that kind of thing, think about yourself, how many times you went out and got wet and were able to come back in and get warm and everything, and then think about Mr. Riley's crew and the custodial crew and the county workers, and they didn't get to switch off. They just kept on plugging, and nothing of this size was going to get cleared up in a short period of time. So everybody's patience and that type of thing. We missed some school days, but I don't know if you say we rolled the dice or we were geniuses in changing the school year so that the first semester ended when the Christmas holiday came about, so we weren't stuck trying to figure out how we were going to schedule some testing and that kind of things. So that's the upside of an early calendar, I guess. But and thanks again for remembering us on School Board Appreciation. This is the 14th time that I've sat here and thanked everybody, and I'll echo the same sentiment that I echoed the first time. I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's been a great experience, and even the people who I don't agree with, who at least they're passionate about what they believe in, and so I'm just happy to still be here and still be able to contribute to the education of our students. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I would also like to thank everyone for these nice gifts. It's like Christmas again. I typically don't get gifts for Christmas. It's either lotions or something consumable. My favorite, and my girls know to get me chocolate-covered espresso beans. So this is nice having actual gifts. And I also want to say that the call that Mr. Drescher made every day on the school closure for the snow was right on. I got out and drove around a lot, and even my road, which is right beside the middle school, it was just one lane open. So if you met another vehicle, you had to back up, and that's the way it was in a lot of the areas around the town and county. And it's not worth even jeopardizing one accident or, one child being injured. So good call on all of that. I'm still attending a lot of the wrestling matches and tournaments and enjoying that. There have been a lot of good articles in the paper on the matches, and I need to get with Mr. Keel and talk to him and try to understand this new idea about the redistricting. And you could probably help me, Mr. Smith, also, on the regions and all. It sounded like a pretty good idea. And we have a big tournament coming up on Saturday at Warren County, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's all I have to report. Action agenda, presentations by staff. Approval of Summer Fine Arts Program. Mrs. Myers.
You usually hear from me about the gifted program, but tonight I'm wearing my fine arts hat. So I'd like to make a presentation to you tonight on a proposal for a summer fine arts enrichment program, which would provide summer classes for high school students in 4 areas of fine arts, which would include visual art, vocal music, instrumental music, and theater. The program would run for 8 days, mornings only, and would provide the opportunity for students to extend their fine arts experiences beyond what is offered in the program of studies at our high schools. We would like for the students to have at least a beginning course in their chosen class as a prerequisite. And the program would be held during the same time as summer school and at the same location, because that way the building would be open already, there would be administrators on site. We would run for, the first week would be Monday through Thursday, and the second week again Monday through Thursday, since our facilities are not open on Fridays. That is what we're proposing. We hope to hire a program director and 4 instructors, and we were hoping that we can find them in-house. What we'll do, if this is approved, is advertise, send it out in-house, and hope that we find some of our fine arts teachers that would be interested in being a program director and instructors. We will use money that is already in the budget and is designated for a summer arts program. This money was in the budget because it was previously used for Pavon, and more recently was used to contract with Blue Ridge Arts Council to provide summer arts programming. We decided that we would like to take that on ourselves and do it for a much reduced price than what we were able to do going through Pavon. You have some attachments in your packet, job descriptions for both the program director and the instructors, as well as the job applications. Our plan would be to hire the program director first and have that person assist in choosing the instructors. If you looked at our instructors' application, you'll notice that part of the application would be to propose the class that they would like to teach. And so our choice of instructors would be based primarily on the course that they're proposing. Of course, we would also look at their qualifications. We have currently $5,300 in the budget for this program. We would like your approval to pay a stipend to the program director of $1,000, and then the instructors would be paid the normal teacher rate of $25 an hour that we pay staff when they work in the summer. So we are seeking your approval to hold this summer arts program.
Does the cost of the program also include materials that they would need?
Oh, I forgot to say, yes, thank you for asking about that. The remainder, after we are able to pay the program director and the instructions, the remainder of that money would be used for materials and supplies that would be needed in the classes.
Okay, and you said theater, music, fine arts, and what was the fourth?
Visual art, vocal music, instrumental music, and theater.
Okay. So vocal and instrumental.
Last page.
What age group?
We would be looking at rising 10 through 12 graders.
And how many students do you typically anticipate in the summer Pavon and Blue Ridge
Well,
Arts program?
you know, that was one of the reasons why we're not participating anymore, because we got down to where we were only having 10 or 12 students participate. So with doing this, we're hoping to be able to serve, and the amount that we can have per class may vary depending upon which class it is, but 15 to 20 students per class, we hope, will have that much interest. So.
And if you don't get many
Well, we'll
applying,
just
what?
have to look at how many, if it gets down too low, then we might not be able to offer one of the classes.
Okay.
How are we going to advertise if this was approved? How would you advertise to the students?
Well, we
the
actually did a
population?
survey of the fine arts teachers prior to planning this to see if they would be interested in participating in it and if they would help us with getting the word out to the students. So we'll do that through the teachers. We can put it on the website. We can have the teachers announce it. We can make announcements in the schools. We'll try to use every avenue that we have to get the word out to the students.
We're not anticipating transportation.
No, the students would have to provide their own.
And how soon would you be looking to hire the director?
As soon as we'll get the information out to the staff as soon as possible, and just as soon as we can. I think we would have probably a short time frame for taking applications for program director. Try to get that going as soon as possible.
My thought was similar to the thought about hiring the principal for the Warren County Middle School. The sooner we could get somebody
Yes,
on board
absolutely.
to structure the program and have it. And
Yes.
that would go to Mr. Williams. If we knew what we were able to offer, the sooner we can
Yes.
put that out there, that these are the classes we're going to offer, the
We-
better.
Kind of have a time frame in mind, and we're going to move through that as quickly as we can.
Okay.
Okay,
Any other questions?
sure.
I move that the Warren County Public Schools Summer Fine Arts Enrichment Program be approved and that the program director be paid a stipend of $1,000.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Meyer.
Thank you very much.
Award ESCO financing contract, Mrs. Shepherd.
Good evening. Tonight, we're asking for approval for financing for the Energy Savings Project. This is the final approval needed in order to start the work for the Energy Savings Project. In December, the school board approved contracting with Amoresco for lighting system improvements, water conservation measures, irrigation wells, cooling tower wells, energy management system upgrades and expansions, and conversion to propane at most of our schools. At Ressie Jeffries Elementary School, we're going to install new heating and air conditioning units, replace exterior doors, windows, ceilings, and floors. The contract was contingent upon finding suitable financing for the project. With much help from Davenport, the county's financial advisors, and Greg Montgomery from Clean Source Capital and the program administrator for VA Saves, we have an attractive financing option to present. Tonight, we have R.T. Taylor from Davenport to answer any questions you may have regarding the financing, and Greg Montgomery from Clean Source Capital. And he's going to give an overview of the qualified energy conservation bonds, QECBs, that are going to help subsidize our interest rate. At this time, I'm going to ask Greg Montgomery from Clean Source Capital to come and highlight QECBs in the Virginia Saves program. He will be our program manager for this project.
Mrs. Chairman and members of the board. It's a pleasure to be up here visiting with you in your beautiful part of the world to talk about the Virginia Saves program. I'm with Clean Source Capital out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're a specialty energy efficiency finance firm started 5 years ago to design and administer programs for helping to subsidize the cost of energy efficiency improvements to local government and private buildings across the Southeast. We manage 4 programs now, the state of Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, and your Commonwealth, which was created in the fall of last year as a result of an executive order that your governor issued as a part of the quadrennial energy plan for the Commonwealth to utilize the qualified energy conservation bonds that had been underutilized in the state. Qualified energy conservation bonds are a unique tool created by the federal government back in 2008 to provide an incentive for local governments, private industry to make their buildings more energy efficient, reduce energy expenditures, increase our energy independence, and to allow for these savings to go back into the local economy for job creation, et cetera. They afford a direct pay subsidy from the Treasury to offset the interest rate on your financing, and currently that rate is around 3%, and that's what we expect that you'll be able to get for your bonds when you issue for this financing. That is paid directly by the Treasury to the borrower to offset the interest rate. In the case of Virginia, your Commonwealth received 80 million of these qualified energy conservation bonds. They were allocated by the government based on population. And then the federal government in turn asked that the states take their allocation and pass on a sub-allocation down to large local governments, populations of 100,000 or more. So of the 80 million that the Commonwealth received, 35 million stayed at the state level and 45 million was sent down to large local jurisdictions, primarily along the 95 corridor in the eastern part of the state. Those bonds sat there and were unused for 5 years. And so we came in and helped the governor to draft an executive order to provide that you either use it or lose it, and those bonds come back up to the state so that they can be distributed out to all the counties in the state, regardless of population, based on the greatest need. And indeed, I think your county stands to benefit from the fact that those bonds are now made available to the 2 counties across the state. And the executive order also authorized the creation of a green community program. And the benefit of the green community program under the qualified energy conservation bond regulations is that the program can fund both public and private projects and can fund what are called qualified conservation measures, energy efficiency, renewable energy, and alternative fuels. So it's designed to be able to provide this subsidized financing for the measures such as you're contemplating or have entered into the contract with Amoresco to do at your schools. So it's a real ideal solution. The Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy is the designated sponsor of the Green Community Program. They sent out an RFP. We were fortunate enough to respond and win. And we have been appointed as the administrator, and we worked with your energy division and with the governor's office to draft the Green Community Program, design it, and launched it in September, receiving an initial allocation of 20 million of these bonds to use for projects such as this. We have closed on 2 projects to date: St. Anne's Belfield School down in Charlottesville, a $2.5 million energy performance contract for their buildings; Pennsylvania County Schools, $3.3 million energy project for their schools. Then we have your project in a pipeline of other projects, and we're very hopeful that we'll be able to help the Commonwealth achieve its objectives under the energy plan for utilizing the bonds to stimulate energy efficiency in its buildings. I think Davenport ran an RFP process for the financing using these bonds and got back competitive quotes. A bank has been chosen at a fixed rate of 4.1% over 20 years. Matched against that with the subsidy, you'll end up with a net effective rate of 1.1%. And the calculated savings on the interest is roughly $3.3 million over the 20-year time period. So those are real savings that help you achieve a greater scope of work for the ESPC contract that you're into and attain measures that you otherwise would not be able to because of the interest costs counting against the savings to arrive at a neutral or positive cash flow on your contract. So I think your project is to be commended. It's an example of what the program was set up to do, and we're glad to be working with your county and with the school board to achieve this. In terms of technical, the reason the county is involved is these bonds are issued on behalf of the Green Community Program by conduit issuers. And it's a financial structure, it's a legal structure, but it allows the bonds to issue so that the borrower, in the case your school district, can benefit from this. We work with the Virginia Small Business Finance Authority for private borrowers. We work with the Virginia Resource Authority for public borrowers, such as yourself. So VRA is technically issuing the bonds and then turning around and entering into a financing arrangement with the county and with the school board as joint obligors on the obligation. It's technically a financing lease, so you'll be co-lessees on the lease with the county. And the reason the county needs to be involved with the transaction is because VRA is the issuer. And VRA needs to contract with the county under its legislative authority. The benefit that you're obtaining is that you have the county's credit involved, but also the VRA legislation creates what's called a state intercept, so that if for whatever reason there were a mispayment or a default on this lease, the VRA is able to intercept funds that are otherwise coming down from the state to the county to make the financing party whole. And that really improves the interest rate because it credit enhances the deal. It's not the Commonwealth's moral obligation behind this, and the governor's executive order was very clear that any financing of this program is not to be dependent on the Commonwealth's credit. Each transaction is to stand on its own, but the state aid intercept through the Virginia Resource Authority has helped to get the low rate that can then be offset through the subsidy to get down to that net effective 1.1%. And so that's why the county is entering into this transaction alongside the school board because of the requirements of the VRA. With your approval tonight, we'll select the tax credit rate tomorrow and lock in and then move to a closing by the end of the month so that the project can start.
Okay, great.
No, that's a lot.
Got all that.
That's why I wanted to be here to
this was
answer
a
any
lot.
questions. And there was materials in the package, I believe,
Yes.
about
Yes.
the program and about Davenport, and Mr. Taylor's here to answer questions from the financial advisor. We're a program administrator, we're not a financial advisor, and so we're glad to be working alongside Davenport, who's done an excellent job in advising the county on selecting the financing.
Are there any questions or comments?
So your net rate, 1.1%, you think?
Yes, sir, we think so. I mean, that'll be finally determined when the tax credit rate is selected, which we'll be doing tomorrow. And it's been bouncing around between, 4.56, which is what we put in the presentation materials. It was 4.67 yesterday. There's a little bit of fluctuation in the capital markets and the credit markets, just given what's going on in the world economy right now. So we're hopeful that it moves up in the morning. We're able to get a little bit better rate.
If we would have locked yesterday, it would have been 1.05%. Today, it's 1.13%.
The term is
20 years.
20 years.
Originally, we had.
We talked 18 at
Yeah,
one
we had
point.
talked 18, and the reason we didn't do 18 is we would have to contribute additional equity to the amount of $632,000. So
Oh, yeah,
we stretched it
okay.
out so that we wouldn't have to contribute additional equity. We would contribute the $2.4 million that we had already allocated. Good question.
It was a good financing instrument for us. I mean, that's what it is. It's an financing alternate, and looks pretty good. Very good, actually.
In front of you is a new board cover sheet with the amended motion on it that shows 20 years as opposed to 18 years. So, but if you have any questions, we'll be happy to try to answer them. And our
Right.
finance guy's right here to answer any questions as well.
And we had approval with the county, right?
County
That
approval
was
was yesterday.
Yesterday? Yeah, all right, I knew it was close. Okay.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I move the school board approve the resolution approving the QECB Qualified Energy Conservation Lease Purchase Bond Financing through the Virginia Resource Authority, the Administrative Services Agreement with Clean Source Capital LLC, acceptance of the financing bid identified as option C as submitted by Union Bank and Trust, and sign an amended contract with Amoresco for 20 years.
Is there a second? A second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank Greg and RT for taking their time and coming up
Coming
to
all the way
help
up
us
here.
out
Thank you all
with
very
this.
much.
Thank you.
Get to work.
Approval of VSBA Board Docs Program, Pro Document Management System contract. Mr. Valentine.
Good evening. The VSBA Board Docs Pro is a state-of-the-art, cloud-based governance document management service, and it was developed specifically for governing bodies and school boards in particular, and it provides a means of immediately publishing and revising agenda items, supporting documents, policies, and procedures via the Internet. Staff members can quickly and easily create, approve, and track agenda items and other correspondence. Board Docs services offer governing bodies, such as yourself, a simple way to eliminate paper-based and less advanced electronic processes while maintaining a searchable legal repository for all documents. And one of the things I really like about it is that searchable feature. You can, if there's a particular issue before you, whether it be, let's say, electronic cigarettes is a hot topic today, you can go on and search and get information on what every other school board that subscribes to Board Docs, and over half the school boards in the state of Virginia do. You can get information from them on what they're doing or what they've done. So it's a real resource, and that's just an example. You could search anything you wanted. It improves governance by making documents readily available to you, the board members, staff, and the public in a professional and easy-to-access format. And what's not mentioned there is that access for you, the public, or anyone is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if someone wants to look up something in the middle of the night about what the school board's doing, they can do it and have it. Whereas now, if the public wants to see the packet that you're going to be working on tonight, they have to come into the office during business hours and look at it. So this makes it available to them in a searchable format anytime they choose to look at it. The system was demonstrated at your work session back on January the 20th, and based on what we perceived anyway as favorable feedback from you, approval to purchase the system is now being requested. If approval is given, it'll take 6 to 8 weeks for them to put us in the schedule and do the training and getting it up and running. But I think it's something that we at staff are very excited about having, not only to make things easier for you as far as the information getting to you and being updated instantaneously, but also providing our public with access to this information and making things even more transparent. So be glad to answer any questions you might have. As we talked about, the cost is an annual cost of $10,200. And what we had said then and would do is there are some savings in our workers' comp budget above and beyond what we had estimated when we went with the outsourcing of our custodial staff. So we would move those funds from that area to this part of the budget to cover it. And then the hardware that would be needed would be purchased through the technology budget.
And then the $1,000 startup fee, we have that covered?
We'll get that out of our operating budget, out of a line for professional services that we already have.
Okay. How soon are they available to do the training?
Well, they said that it's about a 6 to 8 week backlog as far as getting on the schedule. So sometime, and we'll
Spring.
contact them if you approve it tonight, tomorrow to get us on the schedule, and I'll let you know. And I think, as they mentioned, then they'll come and do the training on a night maybe that you're having a work session or a meeting, and that it doesn't take very long at all. We'll try to, do it in coordination with your schedules.
Okay.
So probably if it was approved by April 1, give or take.
Yeah, sounds like that would be reasonable, yes.
I spoke to the clerk down at City of Hampton School System today. She was extremely complimentary of the company, also the program itself and how it works. They've had it 11 years.
Wow.
She said you can't guarantee this, but they have not had a price increase in the 11 years because of other school systems going in, and their growth is producing the percentage of margin they're looking for. So I thought that was positive. And then she remembered me from, that's home for me, Hampton. And I graduated from high school in '61. She happened to remember a few people. We had a nice little chat.
Are you that old?
I'm that old. Yes, I am. 55th high school reunion coming up. But I don't look that old.
No, you don't. No.
So anyway, I think it will do us a good job, and then I can bring all that paper back to Rob.
Oh, the
You
paper
can run it through the
monster.
shredder.
Well, we can recycle it.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to get rid of a lot of these boxes of paper that I've accumulated from these packets. And I think I told you at the last meeting, the work session, that I attended their presentation at one of the VSBA conferences and was really impressed with what they had to offer.
Well, she also indicated to me, because I asked a question about input, putting all the information in the system. And she said it really wasn't as bad. And that after I described Melody, she said, oh, she won't have any problem with that. Nights, Sundays.
Any questions for Mr. Valentine? Or?
No.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair. I move that the proposed VSBA Board Docs Pro Document Management System contract with an annual cost of $10,200 per year for a 3-year term be approved as presented and the superintendent authorized to sign the contract.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
My dog will miss you, Rob.
Yeah, Rob drove all over the county
Visits,
delivering our
Monthly
packets.
visits.
Yeah, poor Rob.
Well, I called him the other day, though, or sent an email, said, you don't have to come out here to Rockland. We're not out yet.
Presentations by superintendent, acceptance of donations.
Mr. Justin Appleton has donated 35 shooting shirts for the boys' basketball program at Warren County Middle School, and Mr. Daniel McGeth provided the printing of those shirts. They're attached to our thank you letters from Mr. Johnston and our policy on public gifts to schools.
I have a question. What is a shooting shirt? Is it just their uniform shirt? No, no.
It's a warm-up shirt.
Don't go
Is that
there,
crazy?
Kathy.
What?
This is not the
Practice
time.
like a warm-up shirt.
It's a warm-up shirt.
It's a warm-up shirt?
Warm-up shirt.
Okay. Well, I didn't know.
I know, I'm just
I didn't know if it was a jacket they wore when they ran out on the courts, or if it was the little tank
I
top.
figured it was the JV shirts.
They may come on with the shooting shirts, or they may also come on with the shooting shirts under their warm-ups, and then they take their warm-ups top off, so therefore they have those shooting shirts on.
Okay.
And then when they go into the game, they take off their shooting shirt,
Shooting shirt.
and they have their regular jersey.
So if they don't shoot well, it's because they don't have their shooting shirts off when they go to the game.
The shirt
Okay.
doesn't get washed.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move that the donation of 35 shooting shirts for the boys' basketball program at the Warren County Middle School by Mr. Justin Appleton and the printing of shirts by Mr. Daniel McGeth be accepted with gratitude.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of scholarship.
Arnold M. Williams Sr. and Phyllis Williams would like to establish a $500 scholarship to the Lord Fairfax Community College for a student at Skyline High School who financially is unable to attend college without some assistance. Very nice.
That is.
And Arnold,
I would like to say, though, that's my parents.
that is your
So-
parents. I said senior.
Yeah, I know. Look, Greg.
Do they have a
But you're
tuition
gonna match it
reimbursement
dollar for
system?
dollar, aren't you?
What's that?
You're going to match it dollar for dollar. right?
Absolutely. You write the check and I'll match it.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll
Would you
make
like
motion. Or, yeah.
Arnold?
Arnold?
I'll read it. I move that the scholarship offered by Mr. and Mrs. Arnold M. Williams Sr. be approved as presented and accepted with gratitude.
Second?
All those in favor, aye? Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Make sure you thank your parents for us, Arnold.
I left him a message already.
Approval to reclassify 7 positions.
A priority of our school board is to provide equitable compensation for all of our employee groups. During the last number of years, with limited financial resources, we've hired personnel and have not placed them on the appropriate salary scales due to funding. Or job roles have evolved to encompass duties beyond the intention of the scale and the position they are presently assigned. In order to better work on our salary scales in total, we first need to get all employees on the most appropriate salary scales for their specific position, and the following positions are recommended to be changed. Diversified Minds Dean, Brighter Futures Dean, Route Coordinator, ITRT Lead, Career and Technical Education Coordinator, Transportation Foreman, and Transition Coordinator. And you can see by the current scales that they're on, it's obvious that it's a big change for many of them. Recommending that the deans for Brighter Futures and Diversified Minds become administrators of non-traditional programs and on Administrator Scale 3. The Route Coordinator was one of those that the job evolved beyond the intention of the scale, and we're moving that role to Level 1 Specialist. Our ITRT Lead, can see he's been on the teacher scale. We'd like to move into the position of Director of Technology on the Administration 5 scale. Our Career and Technical Education Coordinator came in on the Administration 1 scale. We're now reassigning that to Director of Career and Technical Education and the Blue Ridge Technical, why can't I say that? BRTC.
BRTC.
Yeah, principal, and the Administrator 5 scale. Transportation Foreman, we do have we had previously had a Transportation and Maintenance Foreman scale that person was not on. So we're just moving them to the Maintenance and Transportation Foreman scale. And then lastly, the Transition Coordinator had just been working a regular teacher contract of 200 days, where the role encompasses the entire year, so we moved that to a 250-day contract. The cost for doing this is approximately $57,474, and these funds are available from contingency dollars that were in our budget for any unforeseen positions needed once the school year begins. And we do not anticipate these funds being needed for this, and so we can use them to make these adjustments. And I would ask that we be able to do that.
I like that we're starting to work on the salary scales and
Yeah.
getting people
Get people in the right spot
where they
first.
need to be.
Get people in the right spot, and we're working on the total scales. We'll do that later in our budget session.
That's good. Is there a motion?
Make a motion. Madam Chair, I move that the above positions be placed on the recommended salary scales in order to be more accurately reflect the role and responsibility of each position.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussions by school board. Upcoming VSBA Hot Topic Conference in Wytheville on March the 16th. If anyone is interested in attending that, please let Mr. Ballantyne know. I may be interested in that. I'm trying to rework my schedule at Lord Fairfax and a few other things, because I believe that falls in the middle of the week.
Wednesday.
March 16th. Yes, it's a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay. And then potential February 17th meeting agenda items. Make sure you look over those. Next on the agenda is a work session. Do we?
Just moving next door if you want to sit around the table.
Okay. So do we need to
I don't know. Do we need to adjourn?
suspend or recess?
Recess maybe to that room and then.
Okay. So if anyone is interested in sitting in on the work session as we work on the budget, you're more than welcome.